Welcome to Buy in America, and today with my friend and partner Joe Ferrucci, we're going to speak about a different asset class, something that not really too many people is talking about. We like blue oceans, we don't like a red ocean. So this is a blue ocean because this is an asset class that it doesn't really exist in so many other countries, but the US. And being real estate so sexy, everybody wants to invest sometimes in flipping and some other things, but nobody's really talking about this. And for this, we are going to have our expert, our friend, our partner that is going to introduce us to a new investment opportunity. If we want to buy America, yes, we need real estate as well. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, Armando. All right. So this segment here, let me first start off by making the intro through a little bit of foundational information before we introduce our mysterious guest. So let me tell you what makes what you're about to hear, what makes it so unique and opportunistic in today's real estate investing game. When I started almost 30 years ago, it wasn't your institutional investors, it wasn't hedge funds, it wasn't the big corporate giants that were buying real estate. It was your mom and pop, who were sort of building up their portfolio. A lot of people amassed a lot of wealth investing in real estate, but the awareness level around real estate was nowhere near what it is today.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you, there was one very specific defining moment that changed this game. It was back in 2012, CNBC, Warren Buffett, who's recognized and is probably known as, if not the greatest investor of all time, one of the, right? I think we all agree to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you imagine, here's a guy that never invested in real estate, but yet he's known as one of the most famous, most savvy, most intelligent investors of our time. Here he comes out in this interview and he says, if I can figure out a way to buy and manage all the residential real estate that I can get my hands on, that's what I would do. Man, within 24 hours, all of a sudden, and this completely validated the real estate game, because what we witnessed is institutions and hedge funds that started popping out of nowhere and started to accumulate residential real estate like we have never seen before. So it really converted it to institutional acquisitions, right? And what that has done is it's obviously caused inflation from a multi-level family perspective, from a residential perspective. So the game of real estate, has definitely changed. But just like any smart entrepreneur and business person, you have to be able to evolve with the times, right? So I've used real estate to amass a tremendous amount of cash flow and equity, and I'm always looking to navigate on, all right, what are the strategies and what are the things that I can do now to continue to build this portfolio and introduce our investors, our clients to the next, let's say, big opportunity. And I think now is a good time to introduce our mystery guest. So, Derek Vickers, I want to introduce to the show.
What's up, guys? What's going on?
Derek, awesome to have you here.
Thank you.
Derek, there's something that is very important that a lot of, especially Latin American investors, I will say, and probably a lot of European as well, Joe, they have been sold to the idea of investing in a condo in Miami. That sounds so sexy, but nobody makes money but the ones who sold the condo, I guess.
Yeah.
And Derek, you are in another niche that is not sexy at all, but you are making it sexy because there's nothing more sexy than making money, right? So I think you're an expert on this, and why don't you explain what's the asset that you are heavily invested?
Yeah, so the asset class is mobile home parks, better known as, trailer parks. They don't, and what you said at Edmundo is that they don't exist in any other country. Canada has a few, but they don't exist in Europe. They don't exist in Mexico or Central America, South America, anywhere. And, just in the short of it, not to go over like the history of it or anything, but it's essentially like we own the land, and people have trailers, mobile homes that sit on the dirt, and they pay us lot rent every month. Mm-hmm. Now, why it's so great is because it's a form of affordable housing. In any big municipality you go to, it's the cheapest place to live. And where the gold is in this asset class is that you can't make it anymore. Like if you're in apartments, Joe and Edmundo can go build something next to me. If we're in storage, you guys can go build something next to me. But you can't do that in mobile home parks because of the zoning. And essentially the parks were developed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And the zoning is the really valuable part of it because they're legal non-conforming. And basically what that means is that the park was legal when it was built, but it's like it doesn't conform to current zoning laws, right? And so the municipalities won't let you build anymore, especially in the places that we buy, like the the Tampas, Phoenix, Orlando, places like that. The cities don't want the mobile home park there because the high-rise apartment generates more tax revenue. But we all know that high-rise apartment has nothing to do with affordable housing. I mean, it's $2,500 a month or more. Right. And so we have this crazy little asset class here called mobile home parks that is super valuable because of that, because you can't, like, no one can develop beside me. And I like that. When I buy a park, I don't have to worry about that, which is really nice. And that's what makes this. So let me back up here. The whole point in me bringing that up is that I think most of us probably understand supply and demand. Well, the supply of mobile home parks is finite. And in a lot of times it is decreasing every year because in a place like Miami, you mentioned Miami, there's mobile home parks there. But I talked to a lady who owns a park in Hallandale Beach. And she's like, I can't sell this as a mobile home park because they want me to put a 20-story apartment building here. So the land value is so much more than it is as a park, right? Yeah. So that park will be redeveloped, right? And there'll be apartments there. And, there's 150 homes in there. So that's 150 families that are going to have to find another place to live. That's 150 less units of affordable housing that are going to be there. And so these things are being, developed over every year, and it's hard to build them. And one other thing to mention, because people may think, oh yeah, well, you can just go build one of these. Yeah, you can in the middle of nowhere, but it's not. What you're going to have to put in there are brand new homes, right? Which are 50, 60, 70,000. Some are over $100,000, brand new mobile homes. Mm-hmm. But again, you get out of the affordability range because you have to charge lot rent after you develop it to cover your development costs. And then you have the person has to pay for the home. So they end up paying $2,000 a month. So it's not affordable housing. But what we do is we buy these things where they're already developed in urban areas, really, to where there's still an affordable aspect to it. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there, but I get fired up when I start talking about this stuff.
No, I love it. And I want to speak to the fact that, for myself, as I said, being in the real estate game for almost 30 years, I've seen the ups and downs of the markets, the economics of it. And I talked at the very beginning of this show how the institutions, hedge funds, a lot of what Warren Buffett said, it really started to change the landscape of this game, right? So when you and I started talking about mobile home parks, we spoke about there is this sense of urgency and a window of opportunity. We've already seen how institutions and hedge funds have changed that landscape in residential and multifamily. Speak for a second on why that hasn't yet translated into the mobile home park industry, but why that's inevitable.
Yeah, because the institutions are seeing the stability of this asset class, and it is inevitable that this is going to happen. Because let me back up a little bit and just talk about who we're buying from here. So when I talked about in the beginning how these parks were developed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, that park I talked about in Miami, the lady's family developed it in the 50s, and it's been passed down. So we're buying from these families that have owned these parks. They're baby boomers. They've owned the parks forever, and they're transitioning off, right? So like we get rent rolls, handwritten, financials handwritten on loose leaf paper, that kind of stuff. And the institutions they're catching wind of this. So parks that are over 500 units and up, like a lot of the institutions have started gobbling those up. But in this area that we play in, really the 40 to 50 to 150, they haven't really came down in that at that small yet, right? So we're still buying from a lot of mom and pops. There's also a lot of operators that thought they could just come in and this is just like, hey, we're buying this. It's a passive investment. It's mailbox money. It is for the investor, but for us, you still have to be skilled and know what the heck that you're doing, know what you're doing to be able to operate these things effectively, because they've been mismanaged for so long that you need to have the operational capacity and capability and skills to know exactly what to do to go in and add value fast, clean the community up fast, and get it back on track to where it should be, and actually pull all the value that the mom and pops have left in these things, because they bought when they developed these things in the 50s. I mean, who knows what their costs were? 20 grand? Like,
yeah.
Exactly.
And now these things are worth, whatever. That lady in Miami was trying to sell the park for like, I don't know, 150 million or something like that. Wow. Something crazy. Yeah. So you've got these, it's so interesting and fascinating that you've got these, like we went and looked at a deal down in the Keys. We met with this guy, super cool guy, drives an old beat up truck, torn up clothes, but he's got this $20 million asset right on the park that he owns free and clear. He's just collecting cash from it every month. He owns storage facilities and things. But anyways, that's the kind of people that we're buying from. Right. And this industry, I got into it in 2020. It has consolidated from 2020 to 2025, and it's going to continue to consolidate. But I think we have another 5 years, maybe 10 years max, to really go in and consolidate these things more and put, management efficiencies and efficient operations at scale. So then we can become the Blackstone of mobile home parks or whoever you want to call it. But there is a short window because it is going to continue to consolidate. And as these institutions come down, they start buying the smaller stuff, or they want to come and buy guys who have built like big portfolios with 50, 100 unit parks, kind of the space that we're playing in. They have a big appetite for that stuff because they don't want to go buy 50 units. It just doesn't move the needle for them. They're throwing around tens of billions of dollars, but they will go buy a portfolio of 10 or 20,000 units of that stuff because it's already, put on like a plate for them, nice and tidy.
Yeah, because what you're buying here is not actually the real estate. You're buying a business that is in real estate, right? So like the lady in Miami, she's selling the real estate because now it's worth more than the business itself. Yep. But actually what we're trying to get is small businesses of people that is retiring, of people that doesn't have the efficiency. And just as we talk about in Buy in America about so many businesses that are on sale in the U.S. right now, well, mobile home parks is a business as well. And so that's what does that mean is that it's not necessarily passive for whoever owns it. Yes, they call it mailbox money, but at the same time, you have to maintain them. You have to pay taxes. Sometimes you need a guy to go and clean up the stuff, do the landscape, whatever, you know. And so in reality, it's a business. Yes, it's not as active as other businesses, but it still is a business. And you need some knowledge on how to manage efficiently that business.
For sure. Yeah, totally.
And if I was going to say something because did you guys ever live in one of those homes?
No. So growing up, I grew up in a small town in Virginia, in the mountains, you know, like a couple thousand people. So maybe you can tell because of my accent, but I was a small country town, you know, shoot guns off the back porch kind of thing.
Oh, there.
So what's that?
Couldn't tell.
So, yeah, I didn't live in one, but I played, I had friends that lived in trailer parks and
and Joe, of course not, because Joe, you didn't have it in Canada, I guess. And when you moved to the state, I mean, you didn't need to live in one of those. But what I was going to say, my first house that I lived in Houston was actually a mobile home in one of these parks with maybe 120 houses. Just to give an idea for the foreign investors to understand a little bit why these parks are interesting or attractive for people to live at. These houses are pre-manufactured. They bring it to your lot and you install it, you plug to the utilities and everything, but you don't feel like you are paying rent because it's your house that it's in a lot. So you feel this is something in the middle of renting an apartment and owning a real house, which is very expensive, of course, and the mortgage rate right now, as you were saying, it's very difficult to get a house or to get approved for a credit for people that doesn't have the income. But this is something in between, and especially for people like me that is moving from another country, you feel like you're making a progress. You feel like you're not wasting your money in rent. So people is willing to live in these kind of places. And I think in the South, Derek, where we're trying to get these parks, there's a lot of Hispanic people, of course, in Florida, in Arizona, Texas, California. There's a lot of Hispanics living on these kind of communities, but it gives you the sense that, hey, I'm owning my home, even if it's a pre-manufactured home, a mobile home, but it's mine. You know, and I think it gives you a sense of I'm making progress. So that's why it's affordable, but at the same time, it gives a lot of stability because people don't move that fast from that place. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, you know, like in apartments, like, you know, when someone's lease is up, you know, you have people churning on a monthly basis. I mean, I've got people in some of our parks that have been there for, longer than I've owned the park. Yeah. Like they've been there for 5, 10, 15 years, and they have other family members that they've moved and migrated into the park because, yes, the affordability of it. But I think what you said, Edmundo, was perfect because it's their home. Like they can do whatever they want to it. They can put shrubs around it. They can plant a garden in the spot. Like they can do all this stuff that they can't do in an apartment complex. So it gives them more of a sense of security. Right. Yes. And it's more of a pride of ownership. And so that's why people rarely leave once they get in. And go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that I remember that when we were able to buy a house and move from there, the house stayed there. The mobile home stayed there and we just sold it. Yep. And now another guy is going to get it, but this is the same house. So the turnaround, people or the houses stay for years and years and years in there for sure.
Yeah, totally. And this is the thing. And the misnomer is that mobile homes depreciate in value. Like not in the markets that we buy. because people will buy their home and then they'll, over time they'll fix it up and do some rehab on it and whatnot. But if they do move, they just sell it to somebody else, and they a lot of times end up making money off of that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this though, Derek. It's very strategic, right? And as you had suggested earlier in the conversation, these aren't mobile homes or parks that are just being purchased in the middle of nowhere. They're strategically in areas where there is continued growth and development. So the value of the land, and I'll tell you, what I have learned and grown to appreciate with regards to the mobile home parks and mobile homes in general is, I looked at the residential space that I was in, and I sort of deviated away from the larger, more expensive commercial stuff. And look, we experienced it back in 2007, 2008 when there was a collapse. It was, people weren't looking for that $1 million home to rent. They weren't looking for that $500,000 home to rent. They were looking for that low entry level. So anyone that got displaced from home ownership, they were looking at the affordability sector. And in, collaborating with Derek, it's like, here I thought the low entry single family home was the lowest of the low. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I mean it like in an affordability sense, right? And come to learn, well, no, actually mobile home parks. So, as I said, regardless of the economics and whatever someone's political ideology is, recession, mobile homes are recession proof, right? What else than mobile home? That's the lowest entry level to affordability. And I've grown as an investor. I pride myself on being conservative, but at the same time, sophisticated in the sense that, I'm not attached to the cosmetics. I learned long ago, I don't care if a home is purple, yellow, orange, it doesn't matter. But it doesn't even matter what the cosmetics, are. I'm attached. If I'm going to emotionally be attached, which, I learned long ago not to ever emotionally be attached to an investment, but I'll be emotionally attached to the numbers. And the numbers in mobile home parks is just phenomenal. It amazes me. And I think to your point, Derek, we really have to stress on the point of there's a window of opportunity. I know back in 2007, 2008, people were getting used to the idea of being able to acquire for pennies on the dollar. And then 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14 rolled around, and people just thought that was going to be the new norm. And then we all witnessed, right, what happened during COVID. Things just exploded. And I had a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, Joe, I wish I had bought back in 2008, 9. And I'm like, I know. How many times you're going to say to an investor, I told you so, right? But here's the thing. Genuinely, we have this window of opportunity in this mobile home park concept. Why? Because as I said at the beginning of this podcast, the hedge funds and institutional investors, they are changing the landscape of this game, and they are coming and they're targeting all levels of real estate, and they will hit that asset class of affordability. They have. It's just a matter of time before they get to the smaller stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I have a question for you. If I'm a Mexican, I'm a Colombian, I'm a Spaniard, Italian, Japanese, I want to invest in the US. Should I put my savings, all my life savings, or not all, but life savings, into mobile park homes?
I can answer this question. So I'll just tell you what I have. My entire net worth is in mobile home parks in my deals. I don't have anything in stocks. I don't have anything in 401k. I don't have anything in anything else. So I believe in the asset class. It is my so-called retirement if I ever retire. I'm having too much fun. But I think that would be my answer to the question is like, I believe in the asset class so much. It's stability through upswings and downswings. It doesn't matter. Like I hear, you see stuff online that I think people are just clickbaiting. Somebody asked me about this the other day. Well, aren't home prices falling in Florida? And I'm like, well, I don't really know. All I know is that our rent still comes in and the value of the mobile home park is still going up because it's not like the value of these parks isn't what Joe sold his house for next door. It's how much revenue is coming in and how much net operating income does the park make. So the rents are going to continue to increase and the values are going to continue to go up. And I'm still, betting big on mobile home parks because I think it's the most stable, the most recession resilient asset class there is for some of the things that we talked about earlier. So to answer my question, I'm not telling you it's like, hey, you should absolutely put all your savings in there, but I'll tell you that I have. And I am 1000% committed to the asset class.
I love the answer, and I've got to say, Edmundo, so I will just quickly add from my perspective, my philosophy has always been from the very beginning. I've seen a lot of people make a lot of errors in real estate, and so what I've preached, what I've taught, is what I follow myself, which is when you're going to invest, you want to invest for the cash flow and have the numbers make sense today. The appreciation is bonus. I've seen a lot of real estate investors that are highly speculative. And yes, you can make a lot of money, but when you talk about the dangers and pitfalls of real estate, they're taking chances and they're investing for appreciation solely. And they're dismissing the cash flow perspective. So if, as Derek said, if you're doing it from a cash flow perspective, first and foremost, yes, we want the economic indicators to show that there's the potential for like growth. But if you do it from the cash flow perspective first, then you really eliminate a lot of the speculation and a lot of the dangers in investing. So, I would say if you stick to that, then whatever will be next year or 5 years or 10 years down the line, this thing is still going to produce and make money. And that's how real wealth is built. Real savvy investors are strategic. They're very predictable. It's very consistent. They don't rely on fluke, right? And there's a plan behind the creation of wealth. Worked for me, and I know it's worked for every successful real estate investor that I've known.
And I think that for somebody that wants to invest in the U.S., the best thing to do, and I always say that in my social media platforms, all my accounts, when they want to make business in the US, I always recommend to have not necessarily a partner, but at least somebody that can hold your hand and show you the way, because mistakes are so expensive in this country. And I really believe that having an ally like you guys that are very experienced on those kind of assets, I think is very important to hear. And instead of trying to do everything by yourself so you can eat the whole cake, I think you reduce your risk big time by getting in partnership with us. So people can save a lot of headaches, a lot of tears, a lot of dollars. So I think this is a very interesting way to invest in the US, to diversify and start making some money. As you said, cash flow, and then you're going to end up having an exit strategy with assets that are like crypto. They are limited. And because of that, prices are going up.
Yeah, totally.
So this is Buy in America. Joe, do you want to buy a little bit of the home park business in the industry?
I'm going to echo what Warren Buffett said in This is Joe Faraci telling you that if I could, and I will, and I am, we're doing this with Derek, buy all the mobile home parks possible, then that's what we're going to do. So thank you, Mr. Buffett. Because I see how viable it is pivoting to this asset class. I'm bullish. I know Derek is. Derek, any final words on mobile home parks and where we're headed?
Yeah, look, I'm ready to go in and make another splash in this industry. I mean, I think, again, as we talked about the window of opportunity is here and it's shrinking. And we're going to go in and take advantage of that. I mean, there's a lot of assets out there that are still mispriced. There's assets that are even, not to get off on the tangent, but like, because we do on the ground research and deals, like we're still ahead of the game and understanding how these assets are still underpriced. And to other people, they don't look underpriced. They're like, oh, I can't do that. But I'm like, oh my God, we're stealing that deal. Right. And so like that window is going to shrink. Like people are going to find out. Right. And then, the opportunity will become less and less. So that's why I'm 100% all in on it now. And why Joe and I have we decided to hey, we're all going to partner here because we need to go and take advantage of this.
Right. And if you want to buy the most mobile home parks that we could, as Mr. Buffett said, we can buy America together. So send us your comments, send us a message. We're ready to start buying more of the America market. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Joe.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.